Away it goes. Boom, boom. All right, so this is something that I am going to. This is something new that I'm starting. Um, it's going to be a pest control podcast, and we're going to talk about different situations tonight. We're going to talk about. You see it on the screen right there. That German cockroach. Uh, German cockroach is a problem for millions and millions of Americans. Um, and it's the roach that embarrasses everybody, frustrates everybody, and it humbles a whole lot of people who try the do it yourself treatment. The German cockroach is a beast. And if you're spraying, cleaning, fogging, and praying, and you're still not showing up with the results, there's a reason, and we're going to talk about it tonight. The German cockroach is they're not like your occasional palmetto bug, which we call it, which is another cockroach, usually a smoky brown here in South Carolina. That big cockroach that occasionally shows up and wanders in from the outside. The German cockroach, they are indoor structure living insects, okay? And they are fast reproducing that survive because they stay close to people. They stay close to food, they stay close to water, they stay close to warmth and cracks, appliances, cabinets, and clutter. According to a report out of North Carolina State Extension, the German cockroach works. German cockroach work often requires knowledge of behavior, training, and sometimes, and this is key, listen to this, guys, multi chemical strategies because they are difficult to eliminate. And that's a part that a lot of you get frustrated with is that because you missed that part, the multi chemical strategy. So, yeah. But tonight we're gonna get into it, and hopefully I can help a couple of you. If you have any questions, please go ahead and put it on this in the chat as we talk about this German cockroach that you see on the screen. Also, please go and visit bedbugheatkill.com. Again, this is a new segment that we're starting, and the whole purpose of this segment is to help where we can. Okay. Also, on bedbugheatkill.com, we're going to be adding a how to, excuse me, a DIY section, to help some of you in the process of eliminating these pests. You know, again, so let's get into this German cockroach and why it's such a problem. First, let's talk about what makes this German cockroach so different from any other pest. If you get any value out of this. ROI, all I ask is that you hit the like button, return on your investment. Your time is your investment in watching this video, watching me do this. If you get any value out of it, all I ask is that you hit the like button. Okay? All right. What makes German cockroaches so different from any other pest that may infest your house? One, they are small, they're very secretive, and they're very fast. Okay, they hide in tight cracks and come out mostly at night. By the time you see them walking around in the daytime, the infestation is much larger than a lot of people think. I get a lot of calls where people say, "Oh, I only have a few. I have a small infestation." You're only seeing a small amount, and you're consistently seeing them. And I'll tell you why you're consistently seeing them, and the mistakes that you're making, and why you're not getting the results that you want, right? So let's talk about some of the places that German cockroaches love. Number one, they love mainly kitchens and bathrooms. They love kitchens and bathrooms. Why do they love kitchens and bathrooms? Because in kitchens and bathrooms, they are able to find one, food, moisture, and warmth. And where are some of the places that they like to hang out? In said kitchen and bathroom. Uh, if I come to your home, if you're seeing cockroaches, right? Take a note of where you're seeing them at. Okay. And what I mean by that, you may just say, "Oh, I see them on the counter." Well, where at on the counter? Is it by the refrigerator? Is it by the stove? You know what I mean? Where at on where are you seeing these bugs? Uh, because one of the reasons why I say that, because if you're seeing them near either one of these appliances, right? The number one place I would say to look is behind the refrigerator. Pull the refrigerator out, and usually that's going to answer a lot of questions for you. Okay. And why is the refrigerator so why is the refrigerator so, because it provides a great environment for the bed bugs, for the German cockroaches, right? That there's a tray in the bottom of your refrigerator that collects moisture from the condensation of the lines that keep the refrigerator cool, and then that motor provides heat, right? And a lot of the newer refrigerators, they're building with the metal on the back of them, but you'll find the ones with that cardboard and insects. German cockroaches are they eat anything. That's why they're such great survivors. Okay. So one of the places you want to look is behind your refrigerator. All right. And I said it also, if you're, I'm seeing them on the counter, but where at on the counter are you seeing them? Is it behind, near the refrigerator, near the stove? You know, so automatically, if you're going to pull that refrigerator, go ahead and pull that stove, okay, behind and under stoves, because the truth about it is that people don't normally move their refrigerators or their stoves. uh that's just not something that you do. And so over the years, there's all kinds of food particles, things that end up underneath these appliances that provide a perfect ecosystem for German cockroaches to breed. And we're going to talk about how the problem. is one of the problems is they breed so rapidly. Within 100 days, they can produce a whole generation of German cockroaches. But we'll get into that in a little bit later. But yeah, you definitely want to pull that stove. Um, that's one of the hot spots, you know, because I'll get calls where people will say, "Hey, I'm seeing the bugs go across the digital clock on my stove." Yes, because they and what the bugs are after, right, is usually not usually, but in like your dishwasher, your stove, anything that when it has that electrical digital panel, well, on the back of that panel is a circuit board, right? And that circuit board provides heat, not the kind of heat that you and I can survive off of, but it provides a perfect heat for these bugs. Okay, that's why they infest things like your cable boxes and these types of things. But we'll get into that. And again, if you have any questions, please just post it in a comment and we'll get to it. And I hopefully I'll be able to help you with anything with some of this stuff. Another favorite place for these bugs to hang out is inside your cabinets around the hinges. Okay. On those hinges. And as a pest control operator, one of the things you got to be mindful of where you put chemicals, okay? Because you don't want to put chemicals, first of all, in places where uh, the label says that they shouldn't be, okay? One thing you're gonna hear me repeat here on this new podcast is the label is the law, okay? The label is the law. So remember that, all right? And so, but and and we're gonna talk about poisons versus baits. Okay, it's not a versus, but you can't put spray chemicals where you have bait because they serve the same purpose, but there's two types of two different actions, and if you mix those things, you can cause. But I'm getting aside from myself. But anyway, inside along on those hinges, and guys, whenever you're using that gel bait, it's just a little drop, like a little pea size, not even a pea, just half a pea, quarter pea. And read the directions. It says you're supposed to place it every 10 foot apart. There's a reason why they have these directions on there. Okay. That's why I say the label is the law. So that's where people get in trouble with doing these things um, at home. All right, let me get list a few other places that these roaches love to be. And again, you got to identify these areas because we're going to talk about why you're not solving the problem, and then you got to call somebody like me. And around dishwashers, if you got a dishwasher that you do not use, open that dishwasher regularly because that becomes a huge problem when we're talking about German cockroaches. It becomes a huge problem. Behind microwaves, again, is the heat and the perfect hiding places that these places provide. Toasters. One of the problems with toasters is that people don't clean toasters regularly, and so it gets the breadcrumbs down in there. Not enough food for you and me, but more than enough food to support a German cockroach colony. Uh, Trash areas. Got to be diligent about cleaning up behind yourself and getting trash out of the house on a regular. You got to have a way to get that trash out. Um, because trash cans leak, trash bags leak, and how often do people get there and scrub those areas? And again, it may look like just a little spot to you and me, but to a German cockroach, it's Costco for roaches. Your bathrooms, any area where water is coming through, moisture is coming through again. And in the bathroom, here's something that you don't think about because roaches eat all kinds of things. I mean, when you scratch hair, um, all kinds of things that roaches eat. And so, you know, plumbing voids. Look inside your cabinets and see if there's a hole there around the pipes, or see if there's something that seals that pipe, because that's how roaches, especially if you live in an apartment complex type situation, because the bugs travel through the wall, they travel along the pipes, and uh, if those entry points into your unit or into your home are not sealed, that's a place where bugs can enter your home. Very important. What I just talked about right there. I don't know. This might need to be subscriber only type stuff right here. But right now, we just rock out. Ain't nobody hitting the like button. And I know people got roaches, but I ain't even tripping. You know what I mean? Because um, it's a great business. That's all I'll tell you. So, roaches reproduce fast. Okay. I almost said something crazy just now, but I did. German cockroaches are amongst the most prolific indoor roaches. Texas A&M Extension describes them as highly prolific indoor cockroaches that produce a generation in about 100 days. And they are tied to public health concerns, including germs, allergy, and asthma. And again, they don't need much. Few crumbs, a little drip leak under the sink, that little leak that you think is nothing. Oh, that is Lake Minnetonka for German cockroaches. Grease left behind on the stove, or you decided you wasn't going to clean up or wipe that stove off. No problem. German cockroaches will step right in there and thrive in this type of an environment. And you gotta test more than one different um, chemical with these things because they've been around for a long time. And I promise you in the next podcast I'll have that information there. But and that's the reason why one of the reasons why I brought up the whenever people go get that gel bait. And I mean, it's a natural thing to think that more is better. And in the case of these bugs, it's not always better because you may have bugs that are just resistant to the products that you're using. You may switch the name of the product, but you may not switch the chemical. And you didn't even know that these bugs have been dealing with that chemical for years. You know what I mean? Because the previous person that lived there did this or did that. So these bugs may be resistant to the products that you're using. And not the product name per se, but the chemical. May not be getting the kill that you think you should be getting. German cockroaches have documented issues with insecticide resistance and bait aversion, meaning that they don't go for the bait. They just resist it. They not only resist it, but they avert it. They avoid it. UFIFAS notes that insecticide resistance can cause roaches to eat bait and not die. Bait aversion can also lead to control failures. Some populations have developed behavioral resistance, such as glucose aversion. They avoid sugar, where certain bait ingredients become less attractive to them. Because that's what these baits, that tube of stuff that you get, it's a lot of sugar, some fat, some other things that peanut butter, things that roaches are attracted to with the active ingredient that's supposed to kill them in it. And some of these colonies have been known to just, you know, these some of them have learned how to survive bad treatments. And here's something that is very, very effective. And not only is it effective, but it gives you a lot of information. Okay. These things right here, they're low cost, but they're very effective. Okay. And I use them. I use them to monitor, right? Because what's the purpose of me spreading chemical in this client's house in an area where there's no bugs? I'm not catching any bugs. So why am I putting all this chemical around this client when this trap is telling me, hey, everything's all good over here? And again, I'm not saying that I'm not suggesting that I'm doing anything wrong or any other pest control operator would be doing anything wrong in that regard. I'm just saying that for me, and I would suggest this for you, this is a great tool to use because here's some of the information that first of all, it's gonna reduce the population of of roaches. Okay. And it's something that you can kind of hide behind the fridge, under the sink, behind the stove, behind the toilet, near the dishwasher, behind the microwave stand, in the pantry corners. A glue board. What a glue board does, it tells you the truth. It shows you where these bugs are moving and how many of them when nobody's looking. What do German cockroaches like? And if you answer that question, if you understand that question, right, then the object not the object, the mission then becomes to remove those things or to alter those things in some way. Okay. That's your environmental control type deal we're talking about. So you don't have to, it's not always about the chemicals. It's about understanding what this little nasty bug likes. All right, so we talked about where, I talked about where the first place you should look, which is behind that refrigerator. Pull that refrigerator and take a look back there and see what's going on back there. If you got a dishwasher, open that dishwasher. If it's possible, uh, pull that dishwasher out. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing. It's like, just that baseboard treatment, that's not going to get it. Right. So here's what bed, we'll talk about bed bugs later, but here's what German cockroaches like: warmth, moisture, grease, crumbs. So when I say grease, that fryer that has that coat of grease on the outside of it, that's roach food. That those filters that you don't clean regularly that have that buildup of grease in it, that's roach food. Um, the walls that have grease all on them because you don't have the proper uh, ventilation, that's that's roach food. That leaky pipe under the sink or that leaky pipe underneath the house, that where it's just that constant moisture at, that's that's roach food. Uh, the cardboards that you get in sometimes from wherever you getting cardboard at, and you bring it in your home, you're exposing yourself to German cockroaches. If you got clutter in areas in your house where now, underneath that, there's nothing disturbing that. There's, you know what I mean? And there's like, again, cardboard, whatever. You're exposing yourself to German cockroach infestation. Um, you go to the flea market and you buy a coffee maker and you don't thoroughly check that coffee maker out. You bring it in, plug it up, and here's something that I've been telling people to be on the guard of: the pet food. You leaving pet food open in the kitchen, in the house, wherever. Uh, you're opening yourself up to German cockroach exposure. Now that we've talked about some of the things that German cockroaches don't like, I mean, they do like, I apologize. We've talked about the things that they do like. Now we're going to talk about some of the things that they don't like. Now, here's a situation where you want to create these conditions, right? Because these conditions are something that these German cockroaches, they don't thrive in these conditions. Dry conditions with no food or water, clean, open, uncluttered spaces, properly placed bait, growth regulators. That's a key part of it. Because again, the roaches reproduce so fast. So you want to incorporate a growth regulator into your treatment process. And and again, you get a lot of people get a false sense of security when they go and they buy that bottle of chemical from one of these box stores and I see it sitting over there. But then, I understand why you're still calling me. And it's because you should have about 3 or 4 different bottles, uh, probably different names, but the most important thing, uh, different active ingredient, because that's the only thing that matters when it comes to these chemicals is the active ingredient and what that active ingredient does. Okay. And that's why you have to switch active ingredients when you're dealing with this guy up here, this German cockroach. We'll get a little more deeper into that, I guess, some other time or whatever. All right, and so I know we just starting this out, and people are going to be a little hesitant to interact because they feel like it's something that they should be embarrassed about. And I'm here to tell you that no, it's not. It's more normal than you think, and that embarrassment part is why the problem gets worse for for a lot of people, right? And so I'm gonna post some questions that I normally get when it comes to this thing right here. Uh, One of these questions is usually, "Hey, why do I still see roaches after the treatment?" I'll get a call, I still see these bugs. Yeah. Uh-oh. Cancel that. They were like, "I still see these bugs. I thought you said you were going to get rid of all of these bugs." And well, I don't get that question so much because I uh I usually I usually do a pretty good job of explaining the process and understand, trying to give them a clear understanding of how we got here when it comes to the roaches and that kind of thing. Um, and the one thing, roach infestations do not occur overnight. So one treatment is when I hear people say, "Hey, I had a guy come here and spray it at one time, and I never had any roaches anymore." That may be the truth. I highly doubt it, but you know, given how these things here work, it's To this question, my thing is seeing roaches after the treatment does not always mean failure at all, because what happens a lot of times is there's a flushing process that goes out, and some of the roaches that run back to the nest disturb the nest, and then you start that whole process. Um, but activity definitely going to continue for a couple, multiple weeks, because we may not have got to the source, and that source may still have active eggs that are hatching, or again, I missed or the treatment professional missed some of the harborage areas. They weren't thorough enough. Another question that I get asked a lot, and people will say it, and when they say it, sometimes I don't even argue with it because I know they believe what they're saying. So I just kind of just let it ride. You know what I mean? And that is, can I get rid of German cockroaches with bleach? I'm gonna give somebody a chance to get in the comment section and say whether or not they think they can get rid of German cockroaches with bleach. I'll say this: if that were true, if I could do that, I would not be buying these damn chemicals. I would just go to Dollar General and grab bleach and ride around with bleach all day. Like, I mean, that'd be a no brainer, right? If you could kill cockroaches with bleach. Bleach may clean surfaces, and it may remove food residue, but it's not a real roach program. Um, Now, using bleach to clean helps, but bleach alone will not reach a cockroach nest, eggs, or any of the hidden nymphs inside the wall voids. So, no, you cannot get rid of cockroaches with bleach alone. Now, you can use that bleach to clean. That helps. Cleaning is a big part of uh, pest control. It's just, yeah. All right. Next question that people usually ask. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask this question. And this one comes a lot because people will be like, and my neighbor moved out. I seen them spraying over there, and then all of a sudden we had I mean, I keep saying bed bugs. We had, well, since I keep saying bed bug, I guess might as well ask you to head on over to bedbugheatkill.com. Why is this shit lagging like this? I don't know. I have to change this every time. Apparently I do. Wow. Apparently I do. This might not even be okay. That's okay. Wow. Where the hell was that? Oh, yeah, I know where I'm at now. The question is usually this: Do 'cause people will say, "I seen them in the yard." Do German cockroaches come from outside? That is a great question right there. That is a great question. And can't say no, but usually German cockroaches are brought in through bags, boxes, used appliances, used furnitures, deliveries, or connected units. Like I was talking about the apartment complexes and the walls when you share walls. Um, the reason why I say that is because they're primarily an indoor pest. Now, if you live in close proximity to somebody and they got a super large infestation and they get their house treated and all of a sudden you see roaches in the yard, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be German cockroaches because we got Asian cockroaches here in South Carolina that look identical to German cockroaches except for the fact that they fly. So, and if I didn't explain it earlier, uh maybe I'll try and explain it a little better here. The question is, do German cockroaches come from outside? We did that one already. Why are they in my refrigerator? Now that's a typical question. And it's just like the why would they do that? They're usually not inside of the cold part unless there's this like an extreme infestation. They're behind that refrigerator. That's why I said you got to pull that refrigerator around the compressor, motor, drip pan, and the reason why is because warmth, dust, moisture, and food debris covers all of their needs. That's why they are around that in the back of that refrigerator. And it's pretty much the same reason why, you know, when people that ask this question, well, why are they in my microwave or in my coffee maker? Food, 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 food. Why are you around the grocery store for food? And your coffee maker, your toaster, they provide very uh, great, tight hiding places. So these small appliances become harbor sites. It's pretty much why they're there. Here's another question that I get asked, and I promise you this is above my pay grade now, but people ask, should I throw away my furniture? I don't know. Can you afford to get some more furniture? It's a lot of pressure to put on the pest control person, right? You know what I mean? and not always, but in severe infestations, yeah, throw that stuff away. Furniture boxes, uh, appliances, and clutter. Definitely, you got to inspect it. Um, and if it can be saved, then to save it. If not, then throw it away. It depends on the level of activity. That's what I would say. And here's the question. All these are great questions right here. Here's another one. Why did they come back? Well, a lot of reasons as to why they came back, right? One definitely usually is because the treatment was stopped too soon. I didn't want to continue to pay. I didn't see any, so I just decided I didn't need you to come through anymore. And now here they are again. And um, they come back a lot of times because again, you used bleach and you didn't address the eggs. You Eggs started hatching behind the wall, and here they come again. Or your neighbor in the next apartment got them, and so now they're back. Or you didn't clean up that food and water source that was causing a problem in the beginning. Maybe you contaminated the bait. Now they averted the bait that was having an effect, and now you're getting resistance. Yeah. So a lot of reasons why they excuse me, why you can end up with roaches coming back into your place. So, in my opinion, a real and I'm about to get out of here. We'll do this again later on. Roaches again, definitely because it's a big problem. Always been a big problem. Going to be a big problem. But a real German cockroach plan includes inspections. You need to find out where they're living at, and not just where you see them at, because that's where a lot of people think I see a roach on the counter, I spray the counter, and why are they continually coming back? Well, I talked about it because the counter is not the source. The counter is just where you're seeing them at. They're coming from the refrigerator, they're coming from the dishwasher, they're coming from underneath the sink, and you're only treating the counter where you sprayed it, where you're seeing them at. Okay. Sanitation corrections, again, removing greasy items, coming up with a cleaning plan. Don't leave dirty dishes in the sink overnight. Clean that, get that trash up out of there. Clean up clutter. Vacuum. Um, you know, vacuum and cleaning, just cleaning regular. Introduce an IGR, insect growth regulator, uh, into your treatment process because it helps breaks the reproduction development, and that's exactly what you're fighting when you're fighting infestations. You're fighting a life cycle battle. Understand what crack and crevice treatment means, right? And then not broadcast spraying everywhere. Um, just all on the baseboards. You got to understand where roaches want to be, and then you got to get the chemical there. Glue board monitoring. You got to use your glue boards. It's great monitoring process. It lets you know if what you're doing is effective, and not only is it doing that, but it's catching roaches at eliminating roaches at the same time. And if you're hiring somebody, understand there's no miracles in a can. These treatments usually involve multiple treatments, especially depending on the severity of the infestation. Okay. And product rotation, you got to do that. Important for when resistance and beta version is suspected. You got to understand what the active ingredient is and what it does, and you got to switch it up. Okay. And no treatment works without customer cooperation. So if I give you suggestions and show you different things as to what it is you should do, um, that you can correct on your end to help with this, like fixing that leak, like make sure that trash can area is cleaned up, like putting that dog food in a totally different area, these, different things. You do these things, we can work, we can win. You know what I mean? You don't do these things, we can't do it. German cockroaches, they know they don't just need a dirty house to thrive. Okay, what they need is opportunity. Okay, if you see roaches, if you just start to see a few roaches, that's not the whole problem. That's just the messenger. That's just that one letting you know, hey, it's 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 hundreds and thousands of us just out of your sight. Okay, so if you're spraying and they're spreading, your treatment maybe turning into transportation. A clean house can still have German cockroaches, but a cluttered, food rich environment will help them win. Okay. So that's just straight up and down. If you are a clean type person, the chances of getting rid of those roaches increase. You know, but you can speed the timeline up and achieving what you're looking for. Right. Um, Again, German cockroach treatment is a partnership. The technician is he can't he can't outwork grease, crumbs, leaky pipes, open trash forever. You know what I mean? Bug bombs are not a strategy. What they usually they, they usually represent panic in a can. Right? That's just what it is. Because that's what people say. Hey, I bombed. No, if you live in an apartment, your infestation may not respect your lease agreement. So understand what the treatment process is. It's not to when I come in and I do a treatment, my treatment process is not to kill 10 or 15 roaches a night. My treatment process is designed to collapse the colony. That's the whole purpose of any of this stuff is to collapse the whole colony, bring the whole thing down. Right. So, if you're struggling with German cockroaches, don't just ask, "What can I spray?" Ask, "Where are they living? What are they eating? What are they? Where are they drinking from?" Um, you got to ask yourself, "Is anything that I'm doing helping them survive?" And once you answer those questions, now you're not just reacting; you're actually controlling the problem. So that is what I have for you guys tonight on these German cockroaches. Again, please do me a favor. If you watch this whole thing, hit the like button. Hit the if not, you will never ever be able to get rid of your German cockroach infestation. In fact, if you don't hit that like button after watching all of this, or if you don't go over right, make it right here, uh, 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 there to bedbugheatkills.com. If you got a bedbug situation, definitely go over there. Book us to come out and do an inspection. Other than that,
termites don't need an invitation. In South Carolina, the pressure is real. Warm weather, moisture, crawl spaces, wood-to-ground contact. That's the perfect setup for termite activity. By the time you see the damage, they may have been there for months or years. Softwood, mud tubes, hollow spots, hidden damage. Don't wait until the repair bill tells the story. Schedule a termite inspection today. Palmetto Pest Control, LLC. Veteran-owned, local certified. Protect the structure. Protect the investment. Visit www.bedbugheatkill.com.